Well, it's that time, the 2024 end of year rankings. We got a lot of them to do. We're going to start with my top 10 favorite horror movies of 2024. Let's do this. What's up, guys? 2024 is all but over, and another end of year countdown. And I'm always exhausted by the end of these because I got, I think, 5 or 6 of them for you this year. I'm going to do top 10 horror, top 10 non-horror, worst non-horror, most anticipated. But I got something special in the bag for horror because I'm going to give you 2 top 10 horror lists. Just because, and I've stated this a couple of times, I think this is the best year in horror probably in decades. It is that stacked with great movies. And my number 13 of this list is a 4.5 out of 5. So don't think that my last place in this list is a movie that I didn't care for. No, it's a movie that I was like goo goo gaga over. All right. And the second top 10, all those movies are goo goo gaga. All right. Goo goo gaga. Say that 4 times real fast. Yeah. It's been an amazing year. All right. So Let's go ahead and get this thing started. Number 13, Late Night with the Devil. I absolutely adored this movie. I'm going to try to not say that so much. Just keep in mind that every movie I mention, I adore it, okay, in this list. This movie could have been in the top 3 of any normal year, all right? But this just happens to be 2024. One of the greatest freaking years in horror ever, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. Late Night with the Devil, I love that David Dastmalchian was in this movie, was the star, and he really was a great leading man. But also, I just love the premise and the unique setup of how this is filmed to look like a late night TV show. And, you have like switching aspect ratios in it. And then there's some scary stuff in it too, because what if you had an exorcism on a late night TV show? And this is the crazy stuff that they would do like in the early 70s. And so what happens when, a demon comes out? And that's the premise of this movie. And it's really effective. And I couldn't be happier for David Dastmalchian. He earned every bit of praise he got this year. Number 12, Lowlifes. This is a movie I found on Tubi, brand new movie. And don't discount any of those lower tier apps as far as new content. Yeah, Tubi's got a lot of throwaway. Like they had like the Terror Train remake. I think that was last year, the year before, and those were not that good. Lowlifes was a massive surprise, and it opens up with one of the coolest twists I've seen. And usually you don't see a twist in the opening of a movie, but this one does it. And then if you like really like crazy psychotic families, that really kind of turns the conventions on their heads, and I'm not going to spoil anything, this is definitely your movie with some really fun characters as well. Number 11, Love Lies Bleeding, the A24 movie. Now this is more of your like white knuckle thriller type movie that goes haywire with really eccentric characters covering an eccentric world of like female bodybuilding. Kristen Stewart, I think this is one of her best roles to date. She really gives it her all. The ending of this movie will definitely leave you scratching your head, or like at least the last act, like, oh wow, they're going there. Okay, so there's a little bit of the supernatural in this movie as well, but it's a head trip for sure, and it gets really chaotic. But think of movies like, say, Fargo, stuff like that. With a little bit of dark comedy laced in there. If you're looking for that, this is definitely your bag. Number 10, Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney. And boy, did she need this movie after the disaster of Madam Web. But I think Madam Web actually helped Sydney Sweeney because, oh my God, she blew up after that movie. You saw all these pictures of Sydney Sweeney in scantily clad outfits like she was at the premiere of that movie. And I think the movie made her a star. And then right after that, she does this movie Immaculate, which happens to be a very effective little religious horror movie. Just taking the idea of Immaculate Conception, what if that happened today? Where a nun, which is what she is in this movie, gets pregnant, and there's so many different ways you can go with that premise in the last act. The ending really goes there, and I could not love it more. Number 9, Beetlejuice. And I didn't even see the first Beetlejuice until this year. I reviewed it. And I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed this movie because I wanted to watch the original to really get to know the characters so I could catch up in this movie. Because I really wanted to enjoy the return of Winona Ryder. You know, I was a huge fan of hers in the 80s. And to see her come back as that character Lydia in this, and I think there's a lot of heart. I think Jenna Ortega was a welcome addition to this movie. And I just had a lot of fun with Beetlejuice. I think there are people that had problems with the last act. You know, I don't take the plot of these movies that seriously. It's more about just enjoying the fun and the zany aspects of it. And, of course, Michael Keaton as the title character. You definitely saw a lot more of him in this one than you did the first one. And he's great as the character. Number 8, Terrifier 3, and I literally just got the 4K Steelbook from Walmart. Don't ever don't go online to Walmart and see if your store has one, because usually it'll say out of stock, and then you go to the store and it's there. They happen to have 2 copies of it, thank God. But man, this Terrifier franchise, it just keeps going strong and introduces like newer aspects in every movie, and I loved that this was a Christmas slasher. I know some people don't really care about Christmas slashers. I love them. Sometimes I might even say I love them more than Halloween slashers. There's just something fun about the, you can go hog wild with the set design, making it really Christmassy. You can interweave some Christmas music in there, which is fun, giving it like a dark edge. But then this is Terrifier. And I'm sure they have that pressure of trying to up the ante in terms of the kills. And I'll just say, I think they at least, can they really up the ante as far as they've gone already? I love the shower kill in this. I think that is a fantastic kill. Like any of these movies, it's definitely not for the squeamish. But I think it's definitely propped up by a really strong final girl in Sienna with Lauren Rivera. You know, she's such a strong character to kind of offset, the icon now that is art. David Howard Thornton does such an amazing job as the character. Number 7, Blink Twice. This is the movie that I did not expect much from. I thought, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't take Channing Tatum that seriously, but man, I think this is one of the best surprise, crazy, chaotic, batshit. Did I say chaotic? Chaotic endings. And man, it really goes there. It's just a really fun setup because they pull in these really kind of low-income women that are, having trouble making ends meet, and they bring them to this island where, everything is at their beck and call, and it's just like a freaking spa, and it's just like the ultimate vacation, but then it gets freaking crazy. There's a lot of crazy this year, and I guess you're going to get that in horror movies, but this year really went for the jugular. I don't want to spoil anything about Blink Twice, but man, this was a nice surprise. Number 6, The First Omen. This movie was my number 1 movie for quite a while, actually, after I saw it. Now, it did come out like the beginning of the year, but it stayed number 1 for quite a while, I think up until like Longlegs. And this is a prequel to a franchise that I really don't care about that much. Yeah, I like the first one, but I think I didn't even make it through all of the second one back in the day when I watched it. Just from the trailer alone, I was really curious about this movie, and boy, did it deliver. And as far as like movies that might cross the line for some, oh boy, does this. By the way, I think there were at least 3 religious horror movies dealing with pregnancy this year, and this being one of them. And I got to give major kudos to Nell Tiger Free, who gives, I think, one of the best performances of the year. There's a few of them this year that I'm going to highlight when I come upon them, and she's definitely one of them. She did things in this movie that I didn't think were freaking, well, possible. Okay, top 5. Strange Darling. Kyle Gallner has just been freaking killing it over the past few years. And, this, you can tell this is kind of a lower budget type of movie, but I think that just adds to it. Willa Fitzgerald. Now, I just mentioned Nell Tiger Free. This movie, Willa Fitzgerald, another outstanding performance. Just blew me away, especially in like the final act of this movie. But also, this is one of those movies where you're just constantly guessing like which way it's going to go, who's the bad person, who's the good person. You never really can tell up until a certain point, and that's just the fun of it. Just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I mean, really great performances. And I like that this was more of a smaller type cast, smaller type setting. but boy, does it pack a punch. Number 4, Alien Romulus. This is my number 2 favorite franchise. And when I heard that Fede Alvarez was directing an Alien movie, I could not wait. I knew he was going to knock it out of the park. And I love that this one is, it takes place between Alien and Aliens, but really it's more of an Alien greatest hits movie. I think everything is kind of touched on in this movie from the entire franchise. You could tell that Fede and Rodo, they are big, massive fans of this franchise, but they also added their own personal touch. They took some of the lore elements and put like a little twist on them, showing us things that we never really thought about. Giving you an example, like what happens between when the Xeno is first born and when it's, fully grown. What happens between that? This movie shows you that, which was really cool. This had like everything in it. It was like an Alien greatest hits in the best way. Number 3, Nas Fatu. And as of now, this movie hasn't even come out yet. I got to see it early, thankfully, but I reviewed it last week, and I'm just waiting for it to come out so you guys can see it for yourself and see what I'm talking about. Man, this was Robert Eggers at his very best. I think this is it might be his best movie, okay? I think this and The Witch are really close. But taking the vampire subgenre and really just focusing on what makes it scary. And of course, this is a remake of the original from 1922, which I did watch I think right after this. Count Orlok, not going to spoil anything, but the way they cover that character and the way he looks and the way Bill Skarsgård plays him. Man, Bill Skarsgård is such a great freaking actor. But, this is one of those movies that's just like eye candy. For like horror fans, there's just so much scenery to just chew up and enjoy as a horror fan for this movie. And you can just see that like the money, like this feels like a big budget type of horror movie, but it still doesn't forget what is important in horror and to still really, scare the audience, send a chill. Doesn't matter the budget. Be scary. And that's what this movie does. Number 2, and I don't even have to look at my list for the rest. Number 2 is Longlegs. And Longlegs occupied the number 1 space for so freaking long. And I'm actually, probably right after this, I'm going to throw it in and watch it again. This will be my second time watching it. But man, this movie really surprised the hell out of me. Just because of Nicolas Cage. And you never know what you're going to get. And sometimes you get horrible with Nicolas Cage. But Oz Perkins, the way he directed this movie, and it was more about the undercurrent, the feeling of dread, right? And this movie, it's very ambiguous. It doesn't give you everything, and I think that was something that was frustrating for some people, but I'm just the type of guy that likes to fill in my own blanks. And man, this movie, it's easily one of the scariest movies of the year, and especially the last act. Man, there's imagery in this movie that I still can't get out of my head. And number 1, The Substance. I predicted that no movie is going to top this movie this year. This movie knocked my freaking socks off. The return of Demi Moore. I know she's been around, but I mean, like, doing a big A-list type movie and being the star of it. And I think she gives such a great performance. But also Margaret Qualley, they're like two halves of a whole, literally, in this movie. But, this is your body horror, Cronenberg-esque type movie. The visuals are really, really in your face. I like movies that are they start off with showing the beauty and the glitz and all that stuff. And by the second half, it's all kind of melted into this ugly goo, right? And that's what happens with this character. She doesn't follow the rules, and then she pays for it. This is your F around and find out movie, okay? So that's it. That is my first top 10 horror movies of 2024. Don't worry, I got another top 10. I know there's probably a lot of movies that you're like, hey, where's this movie? It'll probably be on the second list, okay? So that list is coming probably right after this one. All right, so be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free Fridays. Follow my Drumdums and on my socials. Support me on Patreon. Become a channel member. Buy me a coffee. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.